Let's go to Bolivia and a farm called Alasitas and try the Longberry washed. So this week we're going to the Rodriguez family. The Rodriguez family consisting of Pedro, Pablo and Daniela, all own a group of farms in Bolivia. They started off by owning a wet mill, not owning any farms. In fact, they did own some farms, but they were peanut farms. So there were peanut farmers that also were interested in coffee. And they had this beautiful wet mill, which they still own today in Caranavi, near to where this farm is. And they would have people from all around the area deliver coffee cherries to them, and they would process them and sell them, sometimes as single farmer lots, sometimes as big commodity Bolivian lots, and that was a really good business. And then coffee kind of changed in Bolivia. People decided to stop growing coffee and start planting coca. The coca leaf is completely legal in Bolivia, as I've said many times, and is used for chewing or making tea, and only really becomes a terribly bad product when you add chemicals to it and turn it into base and dry it out and end up with marching powder. But this change in what they were farming meant that people stopped delivering cherries to the farm. So they'd gone from this nice little business where everybody would bring the cherries to this business that was struggling to stay open and was only really heading one way. So what Pedro, Daniela and Pedro Pablo decided to do was to buy their own farms, make their own cherries come to the mill and make sure they could process them there. So they went out buying different plots of land because by this point coca production was kind of everywhere and land prices were fairly cheap. So they saw this opportunity to go in, buy farms that have been abandoned, tidy them up, replant, and start to bring cherries down to the mill that were theirs. One of the first farms that they did this on was Alasitas. Alasitas is quite often called the fingerprint. So if you have an aerial view, and I'll going to try and put a photo on the screen now, but if I don't, you're going to have to forgive me. But it looks like a fingerprint because of the rows and the way that it's been planted. And what they've done is gone with the curvature of the mountain and planted it down. 2 years ago, well, 18 months ago when I went there, they had just finished building a house on Alasitas. So this house was something that they wanted to build so people who were visiting could get a real experience of being on the farm. The day that we arrived was the day that it had been finished and the walls had just been painted and the beds had just been made. And Pedro said to me, "Here's the keys, Steve. Have a lovely evening. Let me know what the sunrise is like in the morning." So I set an alarm for 4 a.m. in the morning, and you're seeing on the screen now the results of that early rise. Seeing the sunrise, this is time-lapsed of course, seeing the clouds start to break and the day start to come through is still one of the most magical and special moments I think I've ever had in my life. I was lucky enough to do it again this year, and still it doesn't get old and boring. I definitely have one of the best jobs in the world. Another person who has one of the best jobs in the world because he gets paid a great deal of money for doing very little is Roland Glue. So let's make him do a little bit of work and get his daft fact of the week. So it's time for Roland's daft facts, and we find him again sitting around doing nothing. Roland, what do you actually do here?
I'm having meetings, Steve.
With who?
Just me.
The best kind of meeting. Well, the one job that you do is give us a fact. I said do. Give us a fact.
Did you know that the currency of Bolivia is the Boliviano, and it's currently about 9 Bolivianos to the pound?
Not for much longer. They're in economic downturn, Roland. Okay, so we're back, and before we do anything with coffee, of course, we should do our Instagrammer of the week. If you want to get involved, all you have to do is put the hashtag hasbeen or in my mug, and you will be selected from the many thousands. This week we've got Sevan Boss, I don't know how to pronounce it, but with a pretty wicked Christmas jumper and a pretty wicked Christmas haul. I hope you drank all of that over Christmas, Seven Boss, and I hope that you enjoyed it. But thank you very much for your Instagram picture. Love coming your way. So let's get into the coffee. So this is a Bolivian, and this is from Caranavi, but this could be from Yirgacheffe. I'm getting lots of lemon, lots of bright zesty notes, a little hint of black tea on there as well. A little bit of white florals as well, so like white flowers, so a little bit of like jasmine. And it just reminds me so much of a washed Ethiopian Yirgacheffe. It's scary. To be able to produce this from Alasitas. And in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have another coffee from Alasitas, which is a complete gear change. So just really amazing to see what good farming and good husbandry can do on a farm to make delicious coffees. Listen, thank you for joining me as always. It has been a pleasure spending these few moments with you. Please do come back next week. But in the meantime, do remember, life is too short for bad coffee.
Cool.